The Cayenne has given Porsche a huge boost in sales over the past 20 years, and in 2014 Porsche released the smaller Macan, which is now the best-selling Porsche for the US market. With the success of SUVs being undeniable for the company, it only makes sense for Porsche to continue to expand its SUV lineup. Hey, I'm Creech, and this is Creech & Cars, where I cover car news, history, and culture. Today, I'm going to be going over everything we know so far about Porsche's upcoming full-size SUV model that has been codenamed the K1. I'll go over the potential exterior and interior design, as well as features and performance specs. And finally, I'll give my thoughts on how well I think the model will sell for Porsche. First, here's a basic overview of the model and its position within the brand. The official name hasn't been revealed yet, but K1 is the official internal designation, so that's how I'll refer to it until Porsche announces the model name. With SUVs taking over nearly all market segments, it seems like the K1 will be a flagship for Porsche, or at least for Porsche SUVs. This is going to hit Porsche purists hard, but I think Porsche will still treat the 911 as the brand's sports car flagship, while simultaneously having the K1 as a more luxurious SUV flagship. The K1 will be larger than the Cayenne and come standard with 7 seats. Now, with a big flagship SUV comes a big price tag. There are reports that the K1 could cost around $200,000. While that's significantly more than the already expensive 911, the K1 is supposed to go on sale in 2027, so by that time, with the average cost of new cars and especially new SUVs rising like it is, $200,000 might be a pretty accurate price. Porsche has given a few hints as to the possible design of the K1, although it probably won't be unveiled for a couple of years now. Porsche CEO Oliver Blume has said it will be a very sporting interpretation of an SUV. He also said it will be the largest and longest Porsche model ever produced, but still combine design characteristics of a sedan and an SUV, with a short hood, steep windshield, and sloping roofline. There's also a rumor that it will come standard with a set of 24-inch wheels, which is crazy, but at the same time, it's still believable. Seems like stock wheels just keep getting bigger and bigger with no end in sight, so it's likely that Porsche's biggest model will have some very big wheels. As for the interior, I think it will look like a Porsche. Even as we're moving into an era full of touchscreens and overstuffing interiors with digital displays and useless controls, Porsches still have distinct and recognizable interiors. And with the next-gen Cayenne coming soon, I think we can assume that the K1's interior will look very similar to what we see in that new Cayenne. I think digital gauges and a large infotainment screen are a given, and it'll probably use smaller screens here and there for the passengers as well. Now let's take a look at some potential performance specs. First things first, the K1 will be electric. The new Cayenne will probably have a gas model and an electric model, and I suspect with the K1 coming out in 2027, there will only be an electric version. Another thing we know for sure is that the K1 will be built on Volkswagen's premium platform electric platform. The K1 will also likely offer an air suspension with a good amount of ground clearance at its highest settings, which will of course increase off-road capability. Porsche hasn't released any potential power output numbers yet, but the Taycan Turbo S currently offers about 750 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque, so I think given the amount of time left for development and how much horsepower and torque figures have been increasing over the past decade, the K1 could offer up to 1,000 horsepower and 1,000 pound-feet of torque on the top trim level. And of course, that power would be sent to all 4 wheels. The K1 will have at least 2 motors, one on each axle, but it could have up to 4 motors with one being placed at each wheel. These motors will be liquid cooled, but instead of water, Porsche uses a type of oil to carry the heat away. While those are healthy power output numbers, keep in mind the K1 will be very heavy. The Cayenne already weighs about 5,000 pounds, and you can expect an electric K1 to weigh much more, possibly in the neighborhood of 7,000 pounds. It will likely offer 920 volt charging capability, and that power would go to a battery that could provide up to 435 miles of range. While something that big and heavy won't handle like a 911, it is supposed to offer 4-wheel steering to help out around curves. So while we don't know a ton of details yet, it is pretty certain that Porsche will be releasing a full-size 7-passenger SUV in the coming years. So how would it sell? And could Porsche really bring it to market as a $200,000 SUV? I think the one major lesson that Porsche has learned over the past 20 years is that people, and especially people in America, want sporty SUVs and are willing to pay big money for high-performance, luxurious SUVs. The Cayenne saved Porsche from the brink of bankruptcy, and the Macan has done nothing but pad sales figures over the years. All of that experience shows that adding another SUV to the lineup won't hurt Porsche, but the K1 will not be a high volume seller, which is okay. Flagships aren't meant to be the most popular models. The real question around price and volume is, can Porsche sell enough of a very expensive vehicle to at the very least cover the expense incurred by the ongoing development of the vehicle? The easiest way to answer this question is to look at the competition. Porsche sits at an odd market position where at times it competes with luxury brands like BMW and Audi, and on the higher end it also competes with premium performance brands like Aston Martin and Lamborghini. The K1 will certainly be in the ultra luxury high performance bracket with its $200,000 price tag. This puts it right in line with models like the DBX and Urus. So how have those models been selling for their respective brands? Starting with the Aston Martin DBX, last year the DBX sold over 3,000 units, and Aston Martin credits the DBX as being a large reason that the company is on track to be profitable. And as for the Urus, it has pulled in about 5,000 unit sales per year for Lamborghini, and is the brand's most popular vehicle ever. So it's obvious that a very expensive, sporty SUV has the opportunity to succeed. But could it work for Porsche? There are a couple big differences between Porsche and the brands I've just mentioned. Firstly, Porsche has a significantly larger dealership network and will certainly be able to put the model in front of more people. Another difference is that Porsche offers much cheaper entry-level models that Lamborghini and Aston Martin do not. So here's one last comparison that is very accurate: the Mercedes G63 AMG. The G-Class overall sold more than 40,000 units last year, but the AMG version is more comparable to the K1. While the G63 is a smaller percentage of the G-Class sales, demand has been rising across the board, and people are definitely willing to buy an expensive model from a company like Mercedes that also offers fairly inexpensive models. So for those reasons, I think the K1 is the right move for Porsche, and the model will be a success for the brand, even though peers might not be huge fans of this decision. So that's everything we know so far about the Porsche K1, the biggest Porsche ever. Let me know what you think about the K1 in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.